Oh my god, Replay in chat! Bruh, Modish, you have to be the biggest crackhead. Sat down for more than an hour to read all those bugs. Bruh. You could have done all tier list of bugs, kid. Oh.
Where do you see those?
In Skyku chat, I just like how he called me the biggest crackhead.
Alright, welcome everyone, it is me, Modish, and today we're going to be doing a Tanki X turret tier list. So, I'll probably be ranking turrets. First of all, I'll be ranking them in order of how they were released in the original TO. So I'm talking like Smokey's gonna go first, then Firebird, Twins, Railgun, Izida, and so on and so on. That's a bit of a boomer way of doing it, but it's the one that I would be most comfortable with. And the way I'm going to be ranking these turrets is just kind of based on their overall viability. I feel like turrets aren't really that dependent on the game mode, whether it's CTF or TDM. But I would mainly be talking about CTF here, because that's just the more fun game mode. That's the game mode I prefer to play, right? In my opinion, it's the more fun game mode of the two. And it opens up more versatile playstyles, so it's kind of better to judge every turret based off of that, because for example, you would probably not get very much use out of the close range turrets here. For example, in TDM Massacre. I mean, I see that would be amazing, but we'll get to that. So first up, I would like to start with Smokey. Now, Smokey, I believe, is actually one of the most balanced turrets in the game. I think it's a solid B tier, right? Smokey's just, it's versatile, right? So it's versatile, it's got good range, decent DPS, usable in basically any situation, right? It's just a good turret overall. I feel like it's a solid B tier. The only thing I don't really like about it is how the critical hit system works. The crits are a bit random, so it's kind of tough to use them. I feel like this turret could benefit from a change where, let's say you hit some person like 4 times with a Smokey, right? And a bar would charge up at like the bottom of the screen every time you do so. And you could press like a different key to fire off the special charged up critical shot. I think that would be a good change. Might be a bit of a buff. But it's good how it is, right? It's a great turret. I think it's one of the most balanced ones. Solid in basically any situation. B tier. Next up, in order of release, we had Firebird. Now Firebird, I'll be honest with you guys, I really don't like this turret. I think it's really bad. There's just not much of a point to using Firebird right now. I've tried using it. It was complete pain. Right, here's some clips on screen of it losing in a 1v1 to Izida. It's not a good turret, guys. I think Firebird is the only turret in this tier list that would deserve the ban tier. I actually don't think that Firebird is viable in any way. You should never use it, because basically in every situation where you could use this thing, you could use Freeze, or even better, you could use Izida and get way more value. But we'll talk about those a bit later. The main problem with Firebird, right, is it's kind of super low damage output. It's kind of pathetic how little damage it does. I swear, this isn't the latest release of Firebird. Firebird used to be a lot better in the original TX. Now it's just kind of, it feels like a toy. The afterburn on it is okay, but nothing spectacular. It's not a reason to use this turret in my opinion. I think that the turret is just outclassed overall and just kind of not worth using. Right, next up we have Twins. Twins, it's an interesting turret, right? I like this turret. I think that this turret takes arguably more skill. I would argue that Twins is the turret that takes the most skill in the game to use properly, right? But at the same time, I don't really feel like that skill is rewarded. Because with Twins, right, the main like sort of problem, well, it's got infinite ammo, of course, right? But the main problem is if you don't really hit all of your shots, you don't get that max damage potential. And another problem is, well, it's difficult to land at shots. Because for example, Smokey, right? Smokey is a lot easier to use than Twins, I would argue. You just hit a shot every 1.3 seconds. Yeah, you kill people like that. But Twins, it's heavily dependent on range. Sorry about that. Heavily dependent on range, right? It shoots projectiles instead of just doing a flat damage immediately. And teammates can also block your projectiles, right?
Can you stop blocking him? Oh my fucking god!
Doesn't pierce. Not to mention, it shoots from 2 different angles since it has 2 barrels. I like this design choice, but it makes the gun really, really difficult to use. And I feel like the damage for using this gun isn't really how do I put this? It's not really that rewarding. Still though, despite its flaws, I would argue that this turret is quite a bit better than the Firebird down here. I think it deserves C or D, I'm not sure. Somewhere in between maybe? I'll be generous and put it in C tier, but I definitely think that this gun needs a buff. I'd love to see this gun buffed, right? I think that would be really fun to use if it got a little buff. Next up on the tier list is Railgun. Now, Railgun, how do I put this? I feel like Railgun is a really balanced gun as well, right? Like I feel a lot of people would put it in A tier, but I think it's just about balance with Smokey. Like I think it strikes a good balance. It's kind of like, imagine a Smokey, but you're using it for long range combat, right? I feel pretty good about Railgun. Railgun does benefit from some of the modules a little bit more than Smokey. Like for example, Extra Mag on Railgun is really, really good. But I don't really feel like Railgun... I feel like these two are about the same, right? I don't feel like one is stronger than the other. I feel like they're both very, very balanced. Railgun's just the solid, old, reliable choice. It has a lot of burst damage, of course, so it's very good for like tagging up opponents or tagging up incoming attackers. I don't know. It's got a lot of maps where it's good for City of Kungur, for example. Just a solid, old-school choice. Can't really go wrong with Railgun. Fun to use, great turret, love it, B tier. Next up on the list, we have Izida. Now, oh brother. Izida, what do I have to say about the Izida? Well, I think Izida is actually really, really broken in this game. The thing is, Izida is just really good at a lot of things, right? It's not just a turret for healing. I feel like Izida is a great turret for also dealing damage to enemies. Not to mention, by dealing damage, you also heal yourself up. I mean, that's a minor thing, but for example, when fighting something like Hammer, right? Izida versus Hammer matchup. Normally, Hammer could like two-shot certain light holes if he gets a good shot off, right? But now let's say he's going up against an Izida. That Izida can then heal up with and basically need another shot from the Hammer. I feel like Izida, right? It's already kind of a good turret, but it becomes even more busted when you allow certain abilities. I don't know, it just feels like it's way too easy to defend with Izida right now. It does too much of everything, really. I mean, again, on screen, remember when I showed you the Firebird versus Izida? Well, the Izida wins 6 out of the 7 duels in like that footage. It's crazy. It's better at combat than Firebird is, that's for sure. The only problem is it can't hit several targets, but it can also heal teammates. And it heals teammates really, really well.
Come on! Pull through! Yes! Oh my god, the power of Izida. It's such a broken turret.
Actually doing it.
I just think that Izida does way too much. Like, it does way too much damage, does too much healing. For a support turret, it's just insane. Yeah, sure, it has limited range, right? But abilities, all that nonsense, they make it really good, right? And what's even worse is when you have several Izidas on one team. That is where I feel like it definitely should go into the overpowered tier. It's not fun to play against, right? It's got self-healing, it's got great damage, the only weakness of it is range. But I mean, what's the point if you can just hide behind one of your teammates who's shooting? My main problem with this turret is it takes so much effort to like effectively counter an Izida. Like you have to use so many modules, you gotta use strats, like the whole team has to charge it. Because if he's gonna be healing his teammates, like there's no way that you're gonna push through alone. Like Izida easily counters like a single fire from Smokey, Thunder, Railgun, you name it. You need several people to be shooting at Izida's patience at once in order to take her down. And fighting her at close range is not a good option either. That's why I feel like this should go in S tier. Right, next up on the list is going to be Thunder. Thunder is another very solid, kind of reliable cannon, I would say. I'd say it's balanced with Smokey and Railgun, right? Like these three are like in the same tier. They're just kind of different uses, right? Smokey's like single target, highest DPS. That's kind of made for close to mid-range combat. Railgun's the long-range sniper who can pierce. And then of course we have Thunder, who's like the mid-range splasher. Thunder's just really solid, right? I don't know. Consistent turret, he's got splash damage. Sure, it's a bit weak at close range. The DPS on it isn't the best, but I think that the splash damage actually makes up for it. I think that Thunder Thunder might be the weakest out of the trio, but I think Thunder still belongs in B tier. It's a viable option, definitely good. Also, it kind of counters Izida. Not really that much, but every little bit helps. Therefore, I think it deserves B tier at least. Right, next up, we've got Freeze. Now, I see Freeze as basically the actually usable version of Firebird. The thing with Firebird is that it's got very little ammo. I've noticed that Freeze has quite a bit more ammo. It's got around the same DPS as well, it just doesn't do the burning effect, but it does do something I would argue that's better anyways, and that's freezing the enemy. Especially in CTF, freezing the enemy is kind of a good perk to have on your team. It could really stop the offensive push, like for example when the guy already has the flag, he's kind of low HP and he's trying to run away. Yeah, a freeze can just slow him down and just get him. The flag's not going to go that much further. The question is it C or B? Because the problem with this turret is that it's kind of, it's close range. It's situationally useful. It's not always going to be like the best pick. It is a better Firebird with utility, with more ammunition. I don't know. I feel like it might deserve B tier. I'm not sure exactly where in B tier. I'll just put it at here for now. Maybe I'll change it up a bit later. I don't know. It's kind of difficult to judge because these three turrets, right, they're very similar, they're very consistent, very comparable, but Freeze is like a whole different sort of playstyle. I feel like, yeah, I feel like Freeze should be better than Twins. But is it better than all of these guys? I'm not sure. I think these guys might be a bit better. Next up, we have Ricochet. Now, Ricochet is another plasma weapon, just like Twins. But I would argue it's better than Twins. It just, to me, it has some advantages and makes up for some of Twins' weaknesses, if that makes sense. So, first of all, Ricochet is actually a really solid DPS. Like, he has more DPS than Twins, even in DPM. This thing's pretty good, actually. I feel like Ricochet's an A tier turret. So, the thing is, yeah, sure, Ricochet has limited ammo, but by the time you fire your shots off, you're most likely going to be in deep danger anyways. So, as long as you hit your shots, I would argue it's way better than Twins. On top of that, this thing has longer range. It has the ability to bounce, which gives it some pretty good utility, if you ask me. And one of the main sort of good things about Ricochet when compared to Twins is Ricochet is a lot easier to aim, just because you have a single barrel rather than two. That for me justifies Ricochet in A tier. Ricochet, I don't know, it's just got really good damage per second output. I think it's a very solid turret. Right, next up is Shaft. Now Shaft, it's got, like, before it was really overpowered, right? But it's been given a bit of a rework. I'm kind of split on this rework. I feel like it takes away from the turret's sort of sniper role and gives it, like, the rework basically made it really good as being a combat turret for high skill players. So the thing about Shaft is it has some of the best DPS in the game, right? For any ranged turret at least. I feel like Shaft's a very solid pick, though I don't think it's quite as good as Izida. Izida is just a game winner, basically. Like, it can save your team in so many crucial situations. And sure, this gun can be clutch too, right? But I feel like you sacrifice mobility while using this thing for the insane DPS. It just isn't really, how do I put it? It's not really a fast turret, right? You're not going to be capping flags with this. It's not really made for offense. I mean, you can use it offensively, but it's not like in CTF offensively. I still feel like it's A tier though. The main problem why this thing isn't S tier is because it's got quite a steep learning curve. I've tried playing with it, almost went insane. So the meta is to basically fire off the shots as quick as possible. It doesn't really matter if you hit or miss. Basically, you could just do quick scopes for 800 damage. That's why this turret is so good. It could demolish basically any of these turrets. Although you are stationary when you are aiming for them, so that kind of makes you an easier target. I still think it's A tier though, just because of how many quick kills you can get with it. Okay, so I wouldn't say that Shaft needs a nerf or anything. I just kind of don't really like its new identity. I feel like it's not really a sniper rifle anymore. It's just more of a DPS machine, if you get me. Next up, we got Hammer and Vulcan. I'm not quite sure about these two, but I think Hammer was released first, so we're gonna do Hammer. So Hammer is this close range turret, right? It does a lot of good burst damage, but it also comes with a lot of kind of gimmicks, right? For example, you have 3 ammo in your ammo bar. I don't know. It's a very close range turret. I feel like it's very good for CTF, but not quite as good in TDM. Definitely not, because you have to get up really close. So what is there really to say about this turret? Well, I don't think the turret is really that great. The only thing that's good about it is that it fits the current CTF meta, so it kind of makes sense to use Hammer. But on the other hand, even though Hammer is so good in this current meta, I still would consider using Ricochet over it just because it's a more consistent choice down the range. I don't know, Ricochet it can output really good damage as well compared to Hammer. I feel like Ricochet kind of overpowers the Hammer a little bit. It's just got more versatility, more range, about the same kind of damage output. Therefore, I feel like Hammer is a bit worse, but it's somewhere in the B tier. I'm not sure exactly where. Maybe I'd put it, I don't know, above or below Railgun. That's very situational. Like somewhere here, I reckon. I'm not sure. Above or below Smokey? I don't know. The questions. I think I'll put it above Smokey just because it can have some really good defensive value on certain maps, not just offensive. It's a very good sort of assassin turret for when you jump around the corner and kill the enemy flag carrier. I feel like it deserves the top of B tier, though not quite an A tier. And the final turret for today is going to be Vulcan. Now, Vulcan I feel like is the most underrated gun in the game currently. Some people say that this gun is like complete garbage. I don't really feel it that way. The gun is a little bit situational. You're not going to find much use, for example, for it in TDM. The thing about this gun is that it has great damage output, but it also has a low ammo pool and you overheat rather quickly. I feel like this gun has some unrealized potential. Like, I think there would be like a playstyle out there for CTF where, for instance, one guy goes in and starts distracting people, just kind of like shooting them, right? And another guy then rushes past everyone and takes the flag and runs out of there with Wasp or something. I feel like this gun would be perfect for the distraction role, right? Because your only goal is to really do a lot of damage and to be a distraction, right? You're not really planning on surviving for long. But in situations where you're not trying to be a distraction, this gun isn't really the best due to its low ammo pool. If you have an Izida nearby, then yeah, this is one of the better guns. But because it's so situationally dependent on Izida, I don't really know if I can put it anywhere high. I'm saying somewhere, I don't know, does it match Twins? I would say this gun kind of outclasses Twins, right? It just has a higher damage output than Twins, although a limited ammo capacity. But I feel like it's better than Twins, right? I'd put it in B tier, next to Freeze maybe? Oh no, actually Freeze, I guess we'll keep Freeze there. They're just kind of down there because they're sort of situational. Like, they can be very good, but only situationally, right? That's the main problem with these two guns in general, I would say. But also, Vulcan can be really good if you have maxed out temperature block. Because I remember in the original TX, if you had maxed out temperature block, you could basically continue firing the Vulcan endlessly. You would not overheat. Should I bump it up to above Freeze? I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it below Freeze. I feel like this is a pretty good standing. Right, so that's about my tier list. Actually, Shaft and Ricochet. I'm not sure about these two. Might switch them around, might not switch them around. Maybe this is better. Maybe Ricochet would be higher than Shaft just because it has the mobility and it's a really good offensive turret. Yeah, I think I'll keep it like this. Hammer, Smokey, Railgun, Thunder, Freeze, and this gun, Vulcan. I forgot. I don't use it very often. Yeah, I feel like this is pretty accurate. I just realized I didn't put any turrets into the D tier. Whatever. So yeah, guys, this would be my tier list. I guess that's it. I'll leave the link to this tier list in the description below if any of you want to go and do your own tier lists. Again, this is kind of all based off of my opinion. Right? I'm just one guy, I have one perspective, but I think that this is relatively accurate. Pretty happy with how this turned out. And yeah, that's it really. Thank you for watching. If this video does well, I'll consider making more tier lists. This was actually pretty fun, not gonna lie. I enjoy tier lists. I enjoy watching tier lists. I'd enjoy making tier lists. So, you know, if you guys like what you saw here, hit that like button, show me some support, help me out. I'm a fucking TX guy, come on. Okay, but seriously, thanks for watching. See ya.